Ji, and pranams to everyone. I would like to read out this message. Improving the health of the inner peace quotient. This is in continuation with the previous message that was given during Chariji's birth anniversary celebrations. Dear friends, I have been reflecting further on the formula of our dear brother Dr. Ichak Adizis, in which he describes so simply and elegantly the process of integration. It applies to individuals as much as it does to organizations. This formula that he created was for the management. If there is so much of stress and chaos in an organization, how are they going to market their products in the outside world? So he says external integration divided by internal disintegration. Same thing happens to families. Families who keeps fighting, so much of disintegration happens. So we have to reduce this aspect of disintegration if you want to remain happy and peaceful. So the entire message is all about how to make use of various aspects of our existence, increase the aspect of integration, and reduce the disintegration. Dr. Adizis explains that the external integration is the key in which an organization or an individual is integrated with its environment. For an individual, success is reflected in things like peace of mind, happiness, earnings, career growth, integrity, etc. Internal disintegration is reflected in the internal fighting that occurs within an organization and for an individual in inner turmoil, self-doubt, mistrust, and disruptive tendencies. Energy is allocated in predictable ways in any system. It is first directed to resolving internal disintegration, and then any leftover energy is allocated to external and internal integration. For example, when we are ill or disturbed, we have very little energy for creative and innovative activities. When we reduce internal disintegration, energy is available for external integration and success. External integration is the output. We work on the input. How does this relate to peace? In fact, we can replace the word success in this formula with peace. I would like to call this formula the peace quotient. Because when the denominator of the peace quotient, which is the internal disintegration, goes to zero or reduces, we can only imagine to what heights peace will soar. It will reach the original state of ultimate peace, which we know in yoga as samadhi. Generally, the greater the peace quotient, the better chance we have of being happy and positive. Per contra, the smaller the peace quotient, the greater an inner complexities, meaning internal disintegration, and the more disturbance there will be. Peace is the canvas upon which we paint everything in life. Without it, our inner world, our family life, our relationships, our work, and everything else is compromised. How can we maximize the peace quotient? Sahasmarg offers the methods to maximize the peace quotient through a three-step process. The habit of daily practice, internalizing the practice, and externalizing the practice. I repeat, Sahasmarg offers us the methods to maximize the peace quotient through three-step process. The habit of daily practice, internalizing the practice, and externalizing the practice. In Sahasmarg tradition, we undertake an inner journey, the yatra, through 13 chakras associated with three planes of existence known as heart region, the mind, and the central region. As we evolve through these regions, we experience incremental inner integration. In parallel, we also work on refining our habits so that our external behavior integrates with this inner growth. The starting point is always the spiritual practice. Without practice, none of this is possible. First, we will explore the principles of integration that bring us peace, and then we will explore the methods we use to realize it. So there are principles I have written. The principles of integrations are age-old and universal. They are found in Yoga Vasishtha, Ashtavakra Gita, Patanjali Yoga Sutras, Bhagavad Gita, the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, and the Eightfold Path of Buddha. In fact, in all great spiritual traditions, they promote peace and unity through love. If you read the literature of any of these great traditions, you will find principles of integration. For example, in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 66, Lord Krishna says, Na asti buddhaya ayuktasya naka ayuktasya bhavana na cha bhayavataha santiha asantaya kuta sukham. There is no wisdom for a man without harmony. There is no wisdom for a man without harmony, and without harmony there is no contemplation. Without contemplation there cannot be peace. Lord Krishna further says, how can there be happiness without peace of mind? Patanjali Sutra number 33. It says, Maitri Karuna Muddita Upeksham Sukha Dukha Punya Punya Avisayanam Bhavanata Chitta Prasadanam. Translation: the right inner environment is created by cultivating these four principles, attitudes. Number one attitude, friendliness towards the happy ones, compassion towards victim of misery, joy toward the virtuous, and indifference toward the non-virtuous. Let us try to understand this sutra clearly. Why friendliness towards the happy ones? What will happen if you feel envious of others instead of being happy? It will increase your inner disintegration, thereby reducing your level of calmness and peace. Why compassion towards the victims of misery? What will happen if instead you are yourself violent or miserable? Will it help to establish peace anywhere? Or imagine if you are only compassionate towards yourself all the time. You will always be licking your own wounds. Will that make you happy? Number third, why joy towards the virtuous? Imagine that instead of being joyful about the virtues of Lord Jesus, you decide to create an opposite stand. How will you feel? What state will you create within yourself? The fourth level of attitude, why indifference towards the non-virtuous? Indifference is an attitude of forgiving. You are not being judgmental. It creates empathy, resulting in kindness. Such verses are signposts for integration because they prevent internal disintegration. 8 pillars of peace, rather 8 pillars for peace. Patanjali famously presented a simple framework for integration, which is known as Ashtanga Yoga. The 8 pillars of yoga culminating in the still state of absolute peace. Those 8 pillars are yama, niyama, asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan and samadhi. First is yama, the removal of habits and personality traits that lead to disintegration. In other words, yama reduces the denominator of the peace quotient. There are 5 categories of yama: ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya and aparigraha. On ahimsa, meaning the removal of violent, aggressive and forceful or power-related tendencies so that love remains. Satya, the removal of all coverings of distortions so that truth remains. Asteya, the removal of dishonesty and stealing from others so that honesty remains. Brahmacharya, the removal of imbalances and excesses so that moderation remains. Aparigraha, the removal of possessiveness so that generosity remains. See, following these 5 principles or attitudes, love remains, truth remains, honesty remains, moderation remains, generosity remains. They only increase integration, reduces disintegration. Second is niyama. Yama is not enough to only remove the causes of disintegration. In nature, we see tremendous order, and higher the goal, the greater the order required. This brings us to the second pillar of peace, niyama, the cultivation of positive habits that support integration. Niyama brings the fragrance of purity, simplicity, compassion, and universal love. It fills our hearts with noble qualities and refines us towards progressively more integrated states, both inner and outer. Niyama is in tune with nature. It is regenerative, and it is exactly what humanity and our planet needs are right now. These are 5 categories of niyama, starting with socha, meaning cultivation of purity of body and mind. Santosh, the cultivation of contentment and inner happiness. Tapas, the cultivation of shining simplicity through the removal of impurities. Swadhyaya, the cultivation of self-awareness and an attitude of continuous improvement through self-study. Ishwar Pranidhan, meaning the cultivation of surrender to God. The third principle is Patanjali's third pillar of peace is asana, balanced posture. The purpose of an asana is to cultivate a steady and a comfortable posture so that we can relax our efforts and allow consciousness to expand and merge with the ultimate. Asana strengthens the pranamaya kosha, our energy system. Once again, the aim is integration, this time including the physical body through posture. Asana actually increases the strength of our annamaya kosha. Think about the way you sit in front of an elder. Why asana? Not just during meditation, but the way we sit toward our elders also creates or it gives out the secret of your personality. Think about the way you sit in front of an elder, for example. Do you slouch and stretch your legs out in front of? Or is there respect and appropriateness in your posture? Does the way you sit promote integration? It is an indication of your relationship. Patanjali's fourth pillar of peace is pranayama. The management of the natural cycles and flow of energies in human system through breathing practices and expansion of our vital energy. Pranayama brings physical well-being by integrating our energy field. It nourishes the pranamaya kosha. These four pillars refine our thoughts, actions, posture and energy, and cultivate external qualities like health, hygiene, fitness, ethical intelligence, and nobility of character. In many yoga traditions, they are practiced first to prepare a person for the deep dive of inner work. In our tradition, in Sahaj Marg, however, we start with the four inner pillars of pranayama. However, we start with the four inner pillars of pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. In fact, we focus on the seventh step of dhyana, as explained by Pujya Babuji Maharaj in Reality at Dawn, and I'll quote. Babuji says, under the Sahaj Marg system of training, we start from dhyana, the seventh step of yoga, fixing our mind on this point in order to practice meditation. The previous steps are not taken up separately, but they automatically come into practice as we proceed on with meditation. Thus, much of our time and labor is saved by this means. What generally happens is traditional yoga teachers, they teach you yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, all those things first. But so much of time gets wasted. Unless and until we meditate, you will not understand what and how to incorporate yama and niyama principles in our life. All those principles of satya, ahimsa, aparigraha, brahmacharya, you may understand it mentally, but unless and until one attains meditative state, you cannot fathom the importance of yama and niyama. So, the meditation first, according to Babuji Maharaj. Unfortunately, almost 99% of Sahaj Marg community, we have failed in some way in giving importance to asanas, pranayamas, understanding yama and niyamas. We have relegated them in the background. Please incorporate this as you get along. When you have more and more time, you already have trouble finding time for meditation. How will you find time for asanas and pranayama? It's a complete package. We can't be choosy that I will do this and I'll ignore this. I mean, it's up to us. Each individual can decide for oneself whether I have to include the entire package or be selective. The fifth pillar is pratyahara, meaning gathering toward. The ability to turn the attention inward away from the outward pull of the senses. Meaning gathering towards, it is the ability to turn the attention inward away from the outward pull of the senses. The fifth pillar is the turning point where the attention towards inward to the field of consciousness from which it arose. When we are constantly pulled to the external world, entropy sets in. Pratyahara is the opposite of entropy. What is entropy? Entropy is the measure of disintegration. And to keep the system stable and integrated, energy input is required, effort is required. Pratyahara is not automatic. Well, you have to understand this pratyahara is one of the most important step, rather the principle from Ashtanga Yoga. And try to understand from Babuji's viewpoint. He used to say, when you come to see me, don't think of your home. Be here. If you continuously keep thinking of your children and your spouse and your parents and your business, it is better to remain at home and think of me. That will be more productive. What is happening nowadays with us? Are we following the same principle? That when we are here, we forget the business at least for 3 days. Can you do that? Or you want to remotely control your business, your lovers and your spouses, remotely from here via phone. And you hear, even during meditation, which is an act of going within, you not only disturb yourself, you disturb the entire assembly. Is it civil? Is it cultural? It doesn't speak of being a traveler on a spiritual pilgrimage. I don't know, I'd like to remind you a brief story from Ramayana. When Vishwamitra, he used to perform yagyas and all that, Rakshasas would come and disturb the holy fire, yagya. They used to throw bones and all kinds of stinking material into holy fire. They used to disturb. Only way was to summon Lord Rama and Lakshman. They were mere children. But they went and rescued. They destroyed these people, the Rakshasas. I would not call our brothers Rakshasas, but these Rakshasa tendencies are there. Rakshasas would bring the stinking material from outside and spoil the yajna. But we here, you overload yourself with so much of perfume. The person who sits beside you starts wondering, am I going to meditate or enjoy this perfume? Another, I am not against perfume, I myself wear it. But there is time for everything, time and place. wearing clothes which can distract others, phone ringing. Moment we enter the ashram, everything should be switched off, including the mind. Keep the heart open. That's the only thing we keep open. Whenever we enter our meditation hall, stand for a few seconds, respect this aura, respect this environment, take a step further, keeping master in our heart, create some feeling of reverence, holiness when we enter these premises. Without creating this, I think we'll miss out a lot. Moment we leave comfort dome or your tents, we should be ready to begin meditation. That feeling of reverence, feeling of receptivity should automatically skyrocket. And the moment you enter this field of consciousness, we should be able to take a quantum leap. And this can happen only when all our energies are gathered towards a single goal. That is pratyahar. Dharana, Dhyan and Samadhi are the 6th, 7th and 8th pillars that are collectively known as samyama, which is the Sanskrit word meaning integration. Together, they form the meditative practices. The 6th pillar is the dharana, the act of holding on to a particular thought or filling with a continuous flow of intention. This steady flow, called dhara, is developed by the habit of doing the practice every day, and it eventually leads to constant remembrance and ekagrata, one-pointedness of consciousness. Dharana is often translated as concentration, and that is one aspect of it. But it also includes the ability to contain and nurture in the same way that Mother Earth contains and nurtures seeds that are planted in her soil. As our consciousness expands, our ability to contain eventually becomes so vast that we are able to contain God within us. It is dharana that allows us to hold and enliven the inner states we receive during meditation, so that the gifts we receive are absorbed and their qualities become second nature. The process is known as AEIOU, and it will be explained later in this message. Dharana is the field for sankalpa or subtle suggestion. When we master the art of dharana, sankalpa becomes potent, very potent. And it is this dharana aspect we use in the beginning of meditation and during the cleaning process. In cleaning, what do? We make a sankalp that all complexities and impurities are going away from me, from my system, from the backside, in the form of smoke. This is a sankalpa. But this sankalpa remains a continuous stream of intention. Then the cleaning becomes very effective. When dharana is prayerful, offered in a vacuumized pure heart, the divine flows into the vacuum and automatically draws our attention toward the ultimate. Any thought or intention offered in that state is bound to reach its target. Swami Vivekananda describes it thus, quote, "The science of Raj Yoga, in the first place, proposes to give us such a means of observing the internal states. The instrument is the mind itself. The power of attention, when properly guided and directed towards the internal world, will analyze the mind and illumine facts for us. The powers of the mind are like rays of light dissipated. When they are concentrated, they illumine. This is our only means of knowledge. Unquote. Next step. The seventh pillar of peace is dhyana, meditation, in which we dive into the field of consciousness. We go deeper into the heart and master the mind. In due course, this leads to the state of samadhi. Unfortunately, this word dhyana is wrongly, rather very loosely translated in English as meditation. Meditation in English dictionary, you will find it as a focused thinking on one object or a continuous thinking on one object. While dhyan in our tradition means going beyond thoughts, transcending the mind itself. So the question of focusing your mind on one object doesn't arise at all. But we use this word meditation so often. But we should understand that it really does not mean that. Okay. Consciousness is always trying to re-establish its original stillness, purity, and simplicity. And this is why the mind is constantly throwing off thoughts. It removes the heaviness and turbulence created by the impressions that have accumulated. It attempts to calm the waves and ripples so that the lake of consciousness becomes like a still, clear pond in which we can see the bottom, the soul. Meditation is a means of approaching the center. When we meditate, the central power we have remains in force and it integrates us. Meditation is the process of revelation where the true nature of the object upon which we are meditating is uncovered. Such revelation comes not as thought, but as feeling. In meditation, we shift from thinking about the divine to the feeling of divine presence and eventually becoming one with that presence. It is a journey from the complexity of the mind to the simplicity of the heart. In other words, it is moving away from mindfulness to heartfulness. This journey takes us from the surface level of limited consciousness to the full spectrum of superconsciousness, consciousness, and subconsciousness. Meditation is the way to approach the center, which Babuji has thus written, quote, "We have seen that the one thought arising out of center created so big a universe. We have got within us the same central force. Though marred by our own wrongdoings, we utilize the same power which is automatic in us. We take work from the same force through meditation. This is how we proceed naturally and with nature's force." Unquote. Please pay attention to this sentence. We utilize the same power which is automatic in us. What is automatic? Is it the power or the utility of it or the very action of it? Please meditate over it. And if it is automatic, then why do we have to make efforts? Next, final is samadhi. We eventually reach the eighth pillar of peace, the much sought after state of samadhi. The word samadhi simply means that which prevailed before the creation came into existence. Our soul craves for the integrated state of balance, and once we attain it, true happiness comes. No more further craving is left to be satisfied. Samadhi is the state of ultimate spiritual relaxation and effortless concentration. Now on practice. Knowing all this is not enough. What is required to bring about peace? Let's consider these 3 steps: practice, internalization, and externalization. Everything starts with practice. It is pranahuti or yogic transmission that makes our meditation so effective. It gives us glimpses of our original mind from the very first meditation. Pranahuti carries us inward to the depths of samadhi, consciousness effortlessly. Samadhi consciousness effortlessly. It can be likened to a lift in a high-rise building taking us to the top floor. The prayer connects us to our deepest consciousness. With the regular practice of prayer, consciousness becomes elastic, moving between the surface and the center. Gradually, over time, all these states are able to coexist simultaneously in the 360-degree consciousness of Sahaj Samadhi. Cleaning purifies the subtle bodies, the field of consciousness. As layer upon layer of sanskars are removed, as the purified koshas are transcended, as thinking, intellect, and ego are refined, stillness results and integration becomes effortless and natural. Each morning in meditation, we create meditative state to hold during the day. Each evening in cleaning, we create a purified state to carry with us. Each night in prayer, we connect to the center through our vacuumized and receptive heart. When we retain and nurture these 3 states throughout the day, our consciousness keeps spinning like a top in a balanced way, creating a beautiful integrated state. This is known as constant remembrance. And when we are able to hold it throughout the day, we stop the formation of samskars and naturally develop the capacity for Sahaj Samadhi, maximizing the peace quotient. Next aspect is internalize. What do we then do with the gifts of our practice? In every meditation, something unique is bestowed upon us. How do we then retain and integrate each new condition? We first try to become sensitive enough to know that we are being given a spiritual gift, and then make efforts to retain it, preserve it, and allowing it to grow. We know this as A-E-I-O-U. A means to acquire condition, and lie on it, imbibe it, become one with it, and eventually reach a state of union where we are merged with it. It requires only 5 minutes after meditation to make it ours. Then it has a chance to grow. When we hold on to it and carry on with our day-to-day activities, we create meditative state with open eyes. Those of you who do not understand this, what is to be done for 5 minutes after my morning meditation at home? Nothing much. Just don't get up from your meditation once it is done and jump like a spring and say, oh, where is my breakfast? No, cool down. Continue sitting wherever you are sitting. With your open eyes, try to savor the condition, spiritual experience. Enjoy it and try to mark it. Mentally make an impression of what you have experienced. Hold on to that. This can happen in few minutes. But right after finishing meditation, if you jump like a spring and start looking for tea, coffee, or breakfast, or trying to run away to the office, then in this tug of war towards catching up with time, you will lose this condition that you have attained during meditation. Then why meditate at all if you are going to lose it? So better spend those 3-4 minutes, allow it to settle in the heart. Externalize. Then comes the art of externalizing the states we receive into daily life. Our masters have always been particular about our conduct. From the beginning, Pujya Lalaji said that self-realization was not possible without morality, and that idea is fundamental to Sahaj Marg. We start our journey with the beginner's practice, as Babuji called it. Meditation, cleaning, and prayer. From practice, awareness arises. We then use this awareness to make efforts to refine our behavioral patterns and tendencies. And through the process of self-study or swadhyaya, we are able to mold our living. Babuji gave us the methods for this in book Commentary on 10 Maxims of Sahaj Marg. Babuji's 10 maxims take the yamas and niyamas to the next level of practicality, covering our daily living from the time we wake up in the morning until the time we go to sleep at night. They are the tools to externalize the inner gifts we are given through our practice. One of them is so important, is that lead a life in such a way that you are able to create piety in others. Persons watching us should be able to say, there is something different about this person. Seems to be very spiritual, God-loving. Are we able to create this feeling of piety in others? If we are, then I must congratulate and be thankful to our Master. So you see, Babuji has taken these age-old principles of integration and created a simple method to transform ourselves. This is how we build wisdom, which we can then pass on to the next generation. Third item is intentions for peace. The Roman emperor and philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, quote, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts." I repeat again. The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts, unquote. He was the last of the 5 good emperors, known for bringing about the golden age of peace and stability in the ancient Roman Empire, known as the Pax Romana. Aurelius meditated and cultivated a meditative mind as a statesman. We are blessed to have the Sahaj Marg practices to the same, so as to weave a destiny of peace. As Pujya Babuji Maharaj said, we all contain the same central force and take work from the force through meditation. So, until we meet again to celebrate 150th birth anniversary of Pujya Lalaji Maharaj in 2023, I invite you all to join me in contributing to a more peaceful world by offering these 3 intentions for peace as you go about your daily practice, your daily activities. So just as you remember this intentions I had shared with you earlier, these are some additional intentions or sankalpas we make during daytime. Intention 1, among all people in the world, let there be compassion, let there be kindness, let there be love, let there be peace. You can close your eyes whenever you are free. nothing else to do. Just make this sankalp. Second intention, everything around you is absorbed in peace, including the sky, the oceans, the trees and people, the wildlife, the buildings, and everything is radiating peace. Intention 3, everyone is becoming peaceful, nurturing correct thinking, right understanding, and integrity of purpose. Intention 1 is especially useful within your family, among friends, and in your local communities. Intention 2 is especially useful in nature, in public places and urban areas. Intention 3 is especially useful in workplace, before and during meetings, or in any situation where you face challenges in understanding others. These intentions reflect peace in the heart, humility in the being, and offer us a call to action that will lay the foundation for peace. Thank you. This printed version in English and Hindi and few other languages are available. Is it only in the bookstore or do you have booths everywhere? There are booths everywhere, so try to identify. I don't know where they are, but you'll find them. Thank you.
Morning, sisters and brothers. Beloved Master has kindly consented to continue with the giving away of the Wisdom Bridge books after about 5-10 minutes. Like yesterday, we'll form queue like what we did yesterday, but make it very neat and clean. Our volunteers will